Luke Barnatt, very good looking Luke Barnatt. I gotta say, is that the thing you learn through your career in UFC, or you just feel good looking good?
You know, I've always been into fashion, I've always been into dressing well, and like you said, you feel good, you look good, you feel good, you perform well. It's what I do, it's what I'm known for, you know. My last 6 fights, I've always worn this exact suit I'm wearing is the same suit I wear. It's my fight weekend suit. So I wear it tomorrow for the fights as well. So it's just like any other fight to me.
It's your first fight outside UFC, 3 losses for you in a row. Is there a huge hunger inside you to get back on winning track? I
mean, there's a huge hunger for me, of course. There's been a huge hunger in my last 3 fights to win. That hunger's never diminished. You know, I really feel like out of those 3 losses, really I've only lost 1 fight. You know, and I still haven't been beaten by anyone, stopped or finished. The Mark Munoz fight I definitely lost. He gave me a good fight, my last fight there. The other 2 I feel like I won. I feel like there were bad judges' decisions and I deserved the win. I didn't feel like I put on the performances that I should be putting on at my level. But you know, there's a hunger for me to win this fight. But there's no added pressure. People are like, oh, there must be added pressure for you coming out of the UFC. But for me, it's the same. It's the same. You know, I'm here to put on a performance, to fight for the Venator and to fight the fight I want to fight. So I actually feel a lot more relaxed in this environment than I have been before. So I feel really, really good about it. So
no ego problems like fighting your ego?
Not at all. I think fighting is a sport where you can't really, I mean, you have to have an ego to be a fighter, but you can't let it control you, you know. Fighting for me in Venator, fighting for me in UFC, fighting in back when I fought in England or my amateur fights, I've always had the same approach. My approach has never changed, and that continued through the UFC. I always treated it exactly the same way. And now I'm going to treat this fight like I have my last 6 fights, my last 7 fights, my last 20 fights. You know, I've had 27 fights now. I've been doing this a long time. This is my 8th year competing. So I'm, you know, I'm prepared.
So goal never changed? Is getting back to and staying at the first league?
Well, you know, for me, the goal's not changed. The goal for me has never been about that. The goal for me is competing at the highest level of my ability and performing and doing good fights and enjoying what I do. You know, I have the greatest life anyone could have. I wake up every single day and I do what I want to do, which is train and do mixed martial arts and fight. That's all I want to do. I wake up in the morning, I have a coffee, I go to the gym and I train. As long as I can do that with my life, I don't care where I'm fighting or who I'm fighting. That's what it's about to me. It's a lifestyle. And I think I string a couple of wins together in the UFC, they want me back. You know, they felt bad about losing me, but it was a formality. I had to be left because I lost 3 fights in a row, technically. So as soon as I have won a couple, I'll be back in the UFC, I'm pretty sure.
And you're fighting the main event at the pretty decent event. You think that's because of you've been a UFC fighter, you have a good response from promoters world?
Yeah, I have had a great response from promoters worldwide, not just being a UFC fighter, but being a great ambassador for the sport, a good spokesman, you know, and I've been in contact with every promoter you can think of. I decided to fight here with Venator because Frank, who was putting on the show, has the right mentality when it comes to mixed martial arts. For me, he wants to promote a good, well put together production, a good show, and he wants everyone to have a fair environment, and he's looked after us extremely well. So I'm very proud to fight here, and you know, I'm looking forward to the fight this weekend. I'm looking forward to more fights with Venator, and I feel great about it.
And I came for your fight from Poland. I'm Polish, and as you might know, Poland and English, at least in my opinion, those are 2 the best MMA scenes in Europe. Would you like to fight in Poland, since we have very good promotions over there?
Yeah, I mean, you guys have the KSW, which is just done a huge show in England, in London, at the O2, I believe it was at.
Yes.
And I know you did a show a couple of weeks later after that, and you had over 17,000 people in the stands. So the level of mixed martial arts in Poland is very, very high, and the production is very, very good. And I think England, like you said, is the best European country. And now we have the Scandinavian countries coming through. And now this for Italy is fantastic. So I think European MMA is really on and up at the moment, especially, you know, with people performing at the highest level for European guys. So for me, Poland is, I've never been to Poland. I would love to go to Poland, and if the right fight was there, you know, I have been speaking to KSW as well. I've spoken to them, and you know, I'm interested in fighting whoever offers me the right fight and the right time and all the rest of it. I'm looking for a fight in February, so you know, maybe you'll see me there.
Were they after you, or you contacted them?
I contacted them. I contacted, you know, I don't believe that nothing in life comes to you. You have to go out and get everything that you need.
Finally, thank you.
You know, so just because I was cut from the UFC and I have a big following doesn't mean I have every promoter jumping at me. I contacted every single promoter you can think of first, saying, listen, let's talk, you know. And we spoke to KSW, and we were talking about the London event, but unfortunately for me, I got married unfortunately 3 months ago when the event, and so my training camp didn't line up with KSW. That's the unfortunate part. Getting married was great. So now I'm in training. I've trained for 3 months for this fight, and I'm going straight back to training after this fight, so I'm more prepared. When they were speaking about the London event for KSW, I would not have been prepared for the fight. So
were you there?
No, I wasn't. I was a busy man, but I wish I had been there by the sounds of it.
And finally, Mattią Schiavolini, which will be your opponent tomorrow. He finished everyone before the time ended, and he said there will be no difference this time. Do you agree? I
mean, let's be honest about the situation. Mattią's never fought anybody even close to my skill level. You know, he's been fighting on his scene. You know, this is not his fault. He hasn't fought anyone my skill level. He's been fighting in Italy against Italian opponents. He fought one Polish opponent, I think, Oscar, and he lost.
Yeah.
And that fight where he lost was in the second round. And, you know, Oscar, he's good. I think he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a pretty high-level guy, but he's not the best guy in the world. He's not the biggest middleweight in the world. He has nothing special about him to me. We think, okay, it's no problem. You know, he's an average middleweight who's competing and could do good things. And he made Mattią look like an amateur. You know, and I really feel tomorrow night it'll be the same in this fight. I have better skills than he does everywhere. You know, and I think the fight definitely won't go 5 rounds, but he's going to be on the receiving end of the loss. I feel his best round is his first round. He comes out very, very strong, and like you said, he's finished a lot of opponents. He's had a very good long run. So he's going to be very, very confident and happy with himself. He's just been out to TriStar and done all these things. I've been doing them for the last 3 years. You know, I've been traveling, training with the best people in the world, and I know how it works. And I think we'll see a very different Mattią tomorrow. I think we'll see an intimidated, scared, frightened guy after the first round when he realizes who he's up against. I think in his mind, he thinks he can win, and I know he's going to try and come and thinks he can win. But when the reality comes around in the cage, that he's fighting a completely different monster to what he's used to. His last fight, he won in the first round, I believe. He fought a lightweight. He fought a guy named Botti, who's fighting on this card, at lightweight. You know, and they didn't look that much apart in the fight, you know, weight-wise. He's fighting the biggest middleweight he ever would have faced. He's fighting the strongest middleweight he ever would have faced, and he's fighting the best middleweight he ever would have faced. You know, if he puts in the fight of his career, I still don't think it's enough to beat me. So, you know, we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Okay, I just reminded one more huge UFC fights coming up. You're still a, let's say, mentally UFC guy, right? And you're following things. So we have a middleweight title match. What's your opinion about that fight?
It's an incredible fight. We have 2 incredible middleweight fights on the card. Obviously, we have the first fight is Jacare versus Yoel Romero. For that one, I'm going Jacare. I think he'll win in the second round, maybe by a knockout or a submission. I think he's the guy to watch on the whole event. I think he's one of the most talented guys in the world. For the main attraction with Chris Weidman versus Luke Rockhold. You know, Weidman, you can't go against the guy. He's been beating everybody, and he's looked very, very impressive. But I just feel Luke Rockhold has that extra talent. I think he has more dynamic. He has different attacks. He has everything you need, and has a great camp behind him. Trains with AKA with the guys that, you know, some great wrestlers there. That obviously Chris Weidman's his specialty is wrestling. So I feel like it's going to be an interesting fight, but I'm leaning towards Luke Rockhold. I like Chris, and I think he's been a great champion, and I kind of want Chris to win because you know, I think he deserves it. But I think Luke could surprise everybody. I think it goes 2 ways. It either goes to a decision victory for Chris Weidman, or Luke finishes the fight. I think Luke has more potential to finish the fight, and I think that's why I'm leaning towards it.
He likes finish. And of course, the main pay-per-view draw, Conor versus Jose.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this fight is the biggest fight ever. You know, there's no other way to put it. Down to Conor and his marketing and media and everything that he's done, and the amazing run that he's been on. I just think it's a very similar situation for Conor than it was for Paige Van Zandt. You know, he's been on a high, he's been on a ride, he's been beating everybody, just like Paige had. The UFC have backed him, just like they had Paige, and now he's fighting a real test. You know, obviously he fought Chad Mendes and beat him, but there was some things around that fight. I think Conor has done amazingly well. I think he's an incredible athlete and a great fighter. I just can't see. I don't know how anyone on the planet can bet against Jose Aldo when he has been at the top for the last 10 years, beating everybody. There's no evidence, physical evidence, that suggests that he can lose a fight. It doesn't exist. He's never lost. You've never seen him lose in the UFC. He's been the only champion. Yes. So anyone betting against him, they're only basing that on what they watch on TV. They're not basing that on facts. Yes. They're not basing that on fights. They're not basing it on anything. They're basing it on the media. You listen to the media, Conor's going to win. You listen to the facts and you watch the fights, I think Aldo's going to take it, and I think it will be a bit of an upset, just like we had recently with Holly Holm and Ronda. I think it will be a pretty bad beatdown. But Conor, again, his first round is his best, and he has amazing finishing power and could shock the world. But I think it's a shock. I don't think he should be. He's the odds favourite on the betting card. I don't know how that's even physically possible. And I think he could shock the world, and it'll be, if he does, he'll be in the first round. I really think I can't see it going any other way apart from Jose Aldo.
So I cross my fingers for all those fights, including yours, of course. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.